Welcome to Magic in the Moment, Mindfulness in Real Time. My name is Clayton Platt, and I'll be your host for this podcast journey. Now, for many people, practicing mindfulness has very little to do with sitting on a cushion, lighting incense, or even focusing on their breath. Just paying attention to what they're doing at any moment, and doing this intentionally, can create that same magic. Our time together is intended to share how mindfulness plays out in everyday life for our guests. And before we begin, here's a word from our sponsor, Meditation for Leadership. We all feel it, the pressure to keep up, to perform, to push through. But lasting success doesn't come from speeding up. It comes from slowing down, leaning in, and creating the space to lead from within. That space is where we shift from autopilot to intention, building mindful habits that strengthen focus and calm. It's where we stay connected to our values and purpose, choosing to respond instead of react. It's where we unlock our potential to positively shape our own lives and empower others to grow and thrive. That's the work of Meditation for Leadership. If you're ready to create the space for sustainable success, visit meditationforleadership.org. And welcome back to Magic in the Moment, Mindfulness in Real Time. I'm Clayton Platt, and today I'm doing something a little different. After 70 years on this planet and 25 years of meditation practice, I've learned that wisdom often arrives in unexpected packages. Sometimes it shows up when you're an hour late to your own workshop. And sometimes it comes through a CEO who learned life's deepest lessons while playing drums. And sometimes it comes through someone brave enough to admit that they missed most of their 20s while achieving every goal they set. So today I want to share some of my most profound moments from recent conversations, moments that stopped me in my tracks and reminded me why we do this work. So let's start with David Hubbard, Vice President, Deputy General Counsel at Verizon. And David shared something that I think many high achievers will recognize.
I went through a period in this of my 20s, I'll call it, through college and the like, Clayton, where honestly I missed much of it. And what I mean by that is I had all these wonderful experiences and I'd connect with friends and people and they'd be like, hey, do you remember when we were here on Friday night at this place? And do you remember when we went to that party in Miami? And do you remember when we connected and did this? And so many of the things where if you give me the right clues, I could be like, yeah, but I was just speeding through life. I was just going for so many years. Like I had goals and I was going to achieve my goals and I was going to have time and spend time with friends and do things. And I don't mean that I was missing it because of drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I just was flying. I just wasn't conscious for the moments. And I decided a few years ago that I wanted to be more present for my own life and more conscious for my own life.
Well, I just wasn't conscious for the moments. How many of us have lived entire chapters of our lives on autopilot? And when I started meditating at 45, I realized how much of my children's childhood I've been physically present for, but mentally elsewhere. David's admission isn't about regret. It's about awakening. It's about that pivotal decision. I want to be here in my own life. And when we make that decision, something shifts. David calls it being unreasonably joyful.
There's something special in being able to choose. And what I mean by choose is that you can choose joy. We can all choose joy. We can choose celebration. And I feel like I am trying to, and I want to live in a state, and we can all aspire. I'm not by any means assuming that. Please don't want anybody to hear this and think that I've achieved this, but I want to aspire to it. I want to be unreasonably joyful. I want to choose happiness as much as I can choose happiness. And that means being present for the moments. That means, to your point, savoring those great experiences that we have in our lives. But that also means recognizing that I have a power of choice of attitude and trying to approach each day with gratitude when I wake up, and each person I meet with curiosity to what I can learn from them and to how we can embrace and engage life together, even if it's a shared moment in time. You know, I've always had this weird fascination with air. By the way, I know this is going to sound random. Air is this one shared resource we all have. So, like, it's here. I breathe it, you breathe it. We share air and space together. So, oftentimes when we're with people, you're sharing the space, but we're also sharing this oxygen and this air in the room. And we don't really think about it in a way of, what am I adding to this room? So just imagine there's some chemical that's coming out of us. Just imagine the air you breathe is a little bit richer for the people that are around you. And in many respects, I want to just breathe good air. I want to be someone who is helping, call it cleanse, enrich that air that we all share. And if it's a shared resource, gosh, let me help make it better.
What are we adding to the air we share? We're literally sharing molecules, sharing breath, sharing space. Every interaction is an opportunity to enrich or pollute that shared atmosphere. And this reminds me of what Fred Wozniak, the former CEO of the Food Bank of South Jersey, teaches about abundance. When you're present, really present, you see just not hunger, but human dignity. And it's not just lack, but possibility for connection.
I'm convinced that not only we survived as a food bank, but we thrived. And we were able to respond to the pivoting we needed to do versus reacting. And I believe in my heart is because where we were 2 years into me being here and the whole team acknowledging it and adapting, if you will, a mindfulness spirit really helped us navigate that in response versus reacting.
And Timothy Matthews shows us that kindness isn't weakness. It's a superpower. In a world that rewards sharp elbows, choosing kindness is almost rebellious. It's saying, I see you as a human being, not as a transaction.
No act of kindness is too small. So if it's opening the door, smiling at somebody, waving, when you're in the grocery line, you see someone with 2 products behind you and you have a cart full of stuff, letting them go forward first. You know, asking someone how they're doing and actually wanting to hear, not just, oh yeah, everything's great, but encouraging the conversation. That kindness that we have has to start with mindfulness and acceptance. Then we can turn it into action. Take that small first step. Hold the door for someone who's behind you. You know, it might not mean anything to you, but it could be the world for them.
Now, let me tell you about Bill Warnick. Bill's the CEO of Solutions and a former professional drummer. When I flew out to work with his team, I showed up an hour late to my own workshop. My calendar said 9:30. The meeting started at 8:30, and I walked in to find Bill already running the meeting. What could have been mortifying became a teaching moment. I asked everyone to close their eyes and remember a time when they'd shown up late to something important. How did it feel? How did they transition into being present? Bill later whispered, "Did you do that on purpose?" But here's what really struck me about Bill. He understands something fundamental about success that he learned through drumming.
When you learn to play a drum roll, and people may or may not know, when you play a drum roll, there's a thing called a single stroke roll. There's a thing called a double stroke roll. Double stroke roll is where you have the stick bounce twice. Every time you put a hand down, the stick bounces twice. So instead of it going dot, it goes da 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 da. So now you've got double on every movement. You can go faster without moving faster. Single stroke roll, it's one note per stroke. So you got to move as fast as you can. When I was a kid everything about what I did when I wanted to work harder. It was always about going faster, going harder. It's, I gotta try harder. I gotta move harder. I gotta get more oomph into it. I gotta go faster. Drums taught me the efficiency of movement, that double stroke roll that I just talked about. And the fact that if you can do those things, if you've got two notes on this hand, this allows you, while this hand is doing two notes, to move this hand into something else. So now you've got efficiency of movement all across the drum kit. This is something that drummers learn. Life is so much like that. And the fact that if you try to squeeze harder, to grasp that harder, to want harder, it just slips through your fingers. You got to relax. You got to, going back to the beginning of our conversation, taking a breath. When you relax, when you don't go from a place of such desperation to get to the next level, you'll find that the next level will come. It'll get there, and it's so much easier. And it makes so much more sense because you didn't want your way into it. You didn't force your way into it.
This is profound. How often do we believe that more effort, more force, more grinding will get us there? And Bill discovered what athletes call relaxed power, that sweet spot where effort becomes effortless, where we stop forcing and start flowing. I see this in my own practice. The harder I try to quiet my mind, the louder it gets. But when I relax into it, when I stop grasping for enlightenment and just sit, that's when the magic happens. Now, Bill also shared the box breathing technique, 4 equal parts. Inhale for 8, hold for 8, exhale for 8, hold for 8. There are different ways to do that in different numbers. It could be 3, 4, 5 counts. But here's the thing. Navy SEALs use this. Olympic athletes use it. CEOs use it before difficult conversations.
Or it's a 4-part breathing technique where you inhale. I choose to do 8 counts. So I inhale and count 8. So inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You hold for the same count. Then you exhale for the 8 count. And then you hold for the 8 count. And it's just a 4-part. You think of it as a box. And I do that a number of times. I don't do it till I hyperventilate, but I do it a number of times till I can regulate my heart rate. And you'd be amazed if I wear not my plug for Aura. I wear an Aura ring, and I notice it in my stats that my Aura ring gives me. My heart rate goes down. I notice my body temperature will go down when I practice those things.
What it does is it drops you from being in your head into your body, from reactivity into response. But perhaps the most important framework for these conversations is David's C.L.A.W philosophy.
I'm a believer in C.L.A.W, which is compassion, love, awareness, and wisdom. And I think that is the answer. I think if we treat people with compassion, I think if we love one another, if we are aware of ourselves, and this is where mindfulness becomes so key, and of our thoughts and what we bring to the table, if you do all of those things, we will find wisdom at the end of that journey. And when we find wisdom, we make wise choices. We treat each other well. And I think that will supersede all of this other BS that we allow people and ourselves to get blocked by and stuck by.
Compassion, love, awareness, wisdom. Notice how awareness, mindfulness, is the bridge. Without awareness, compassion becomes pity. Love becomes attachment. But with awareness, with mindfulness in real time, we navigate towards wisdom. And you know what strikes me about all these conversations? None of my guests are talking about meditation as something separate from life. They're not retreating to mountaintops. They're finding mindfulness in boardrooms, in band rehearsals, in sales calls, in surf lessons. Bill Warnick took up surfing at 54 and found it meditative. Wow. David finds it when his son joins his fraternity. 3 generations of alpha men together, and he stops to actually take it in. David said, before, it would be later. Maybe I'd think, I bet that was great. Now I'm there, actually there. This is mindfulness in real time. It's not about perfection or always being Zen. It's about awareness. It's about choice. It's about showing up even when we're late and being present for what is. Friends, this is an invitation. Not to add another thing to your to-do list, not to become a meditator if that doesn't call to you. The invitation is simply this. Be here for your life. Choose what you're adding to the shared air. Relax into success instead of forcing it. Take a breath before you respond. Choose kindness when you could choose otherwise. Remember that we have more in common than what divides us. And if these conversations have moved you, I encourage you to go back and listen to the full episodes. David Hubbard's episode is a masterclass in choosing joy. Bill Warnick's will change how you think about leadership and listening. Fred Wozniak will inspire you to see service differently. And Timothy Matthews reminds you that kindness takes courage. And if you're on YouTube, I'm going to ask a favor. Please subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, a rating or review really helps others find these conversations. Your reviews teach me what resonates with you, but most importantly, take something from today. Maybe it's David's question. What am I adding to the air? Maybe it's Bill's reminder to relax instead of force. Maybe it's choosing kindness when the world expects otherwise. Whatever it is, that's your magic in this moment. Until next time, I'm Clayton Platt, reminding you that mindfulness isn't something we do, it's how we show up for what we're already doing. Be well, my friends.